Welcome to the Department of Communications internship presentations. My name is Christine Schiffbauer. I would ask you to be a great audience and please silence your phones as we prepare to hear from this week's lineup of interns. Today we have Stephen Treadle, Cole Keller, Tyler Drum, and Chris Barish.
I want to start this presentation with a fun fact about myself. I am a clean freak. I don't like dirt. I don't like grime. I like everything to be organized and exactly where it should be, which is why, for my internship, I decided to work with the cleanest and most organized people in the world, children. I spent my summer at Lauri West Community Center as a promotions and engagement intern. So before we start, here's the agenda of what we'll be going over. We're going to start by meeting the employer and my boss, my duties and responsibilities, what I did right, what I did wrong, what I learned, and then we're going to look to the future and we'll end with questions. So, the internship. As I previously mentioned, this was Lauri West Community Center. It's a medium-sized community center located in Fox Chapel, and quick show of hands, who knows where Fox Chapel Area High School is? It is a 5-minute walk from there. And I have personal connection to this place as I have spent a lot of days after high school just hanging out at the community center due to the gym they have and the large track that they have. And I got to meet my boss, Shannon Smith. Shannon Smith was the judge, jury, and executor of my internship. For every video that I produced while working with her, she had the final say. If she liked it, it goes out. If she didn't like it, back to the drawing board. That was the hardest part to get used to, was the fact that I was being introduced to a whole new system called expectations, but we'll talk about that later. So what were my duties and responsibilities? Well, for starters, I was to create a weekly video for the summer camp. The summer camp ran for 10 weeks. I created 10 videos for the summer camp. The reason why was because the summer camp had been running for a very long time. However, after COVID, the attendance had been dwindling regularly, and they wanted to see the attendance go up. So my goal was to go in every single day for about 5 hours and record and take photos of the summer camp to then turn into videos that would be sent out to the parents and families the next week, usually on Monday. In addition, I would take photos for any future projects or any miscellaneous things that they wanted to be taken care of. For example, that photo of the cafe up there was only taken because of the general manager, Mark, coming to me after an argument he had over the phone with a woman because she said there was no place to relax in the center, in which case he came up to me and said, take photos of every place you would call a relaxation location to really stick it to her. His words, not mine. So, what did I do right? For starters, I think I did these weekly promotional videos very well. There was a lot of expectation with these, as the whole point was to show people that the summer camp was not only useful and valuable, but also that students were having fun. And that was a difficult job. Children aren't exactly the best at knowing how to behave in front of a camera. And a big thing for me was knowing a lot of different details. Which kids I was allowed to take photos of, what was going on during that week that needed to be posted about, everything like that, plus the expectations of multiple different people who had the final say on those videos. As well, I think I did well with the Mark thank you videos. The man up in the top corner there is Mark, and he wanted to thank our donors, since the community center would not be running if it weren't for the extensive amount of donors who donated for everything to the Gaga ball pit to the actual gymnasium itself. The goal was to show people using their donations effectively and then showing Mark's thank you at the end, with the most difficult part being that Mark just did not like being on camera. And the final thing I think I did well was the personal trainer interviews. These were something that I pitched personally to Shannon, as I'd realized that the personal trainers who worked in the gymnasium were not being used effectively by the community. Some of them, for example Cassie down there, were used by almost 20 different people all week, while some other people didn't have anyone who showed up ever, making their employment on the rocks. A job that I wanted to take on was to make an interview with each and every one of them, showcasing what they focused on, their personalities, and when they were available, in hopes of increasing engagement with them to show people the personalities of who they'd be working with for a long period of time. I'm sure anyone who's worked with a personal trainer knows it's not so much about what they want to push you towards, it's about the personality. You don't want to work out with somebody who you can't stand. And that was an important part for me to showcase, as a lot of them were never given that chance to showcase their personality to the center. But for everything you do right, there is something you do wrong. For starters, I was incredibly overzealous when I first started. I had these grandiose images of cinematic shots that'd be put into these videos of children that their parents wanted to watch just to see that they weren't just sitting around playing on their iPads all day. I had these very grandiose ideas, as I've previously mentioned, but a lot of people don't care about that. It wasn't the image of Lauri West Community Center. It was my image. And a big part that I had to learn very quickly was that my image was not the image that the community center wanted. But very quickly I was able to pick up on that and establish the effective theme that would apply to every single video from that point going forward. As well, I missed a few deadlines. This is going to happen with the fact that I had 3 to 4 people who all had different visions talking to me about a single video project. What mattered though was that those videos still came out even if I missed those deadlines. But all of this pales in comparison to the Celebrate the Center video. The Celebrate the Center event is something that is hosted at Lauri West Community Center every December. And the event is when a bunch of sponsors all gather together and talk about the future of the community center, specifically whether or not donors want to continue donating to let the doors stay open. This event usually is started by a bunch of people coming in and giving their testimonies of how important the community center is to them. This year, however, Shannon came to me and asked me to create a video that would fill the role of that. What you are watching right now on screen is my first draft that I created for this video. It was also the only draft I created, as I never finished this project. The reason why was because I had 3 different people who all wanted very different things. One person wanted the focus to be on the people, the other wanted the focus to be on the community, the third wanted the focus to be on the building. Everyone wanted something different, and every time I suggested something, 2 people shot me down because it wasn't what they wanted. And by the time I left, I unfortunately was not able to achieve this goal, which was something I was incredibly excited for. So what did I learn? The first was absolutely the importance of communication. As I have harped over and over again, I had to go through many people just to upload a single video. And an important thing was to know what everyone wanted, what their expectations were, what the goals and the vision of each video was, and what the audience was. All of this came together to make a very important communication cycle where I was fed information by people who specialized in that. For example, for summer camp videos, Shannon would tell me what she wanted for the theme of the video, while Mark would tell me what he wanted the video's length to be, or what he wanted the focal point to be. Then there was Amy and Kari, who ran the summer camp, who told me which kids were allowed to have photos taken, what the theme of the week was, everything that needed to be shown in the video as well. Another thing I learned was meeting expectations. You can't do everything the way you want to, and I learned that the hard way in my first couple of weeks. I had to figure out what the theme was and what everyone wanted, and by learning that, I was able to make better videos because of it. And finally, I learned about interacting with wildly different target audiences. You want to know the 2 biggest target audiences I worked with during my internship? It was children under the age of 12 years old and people over the age of 60. Those 2 markets do not have a lot of overlap. And an important thing I learned was how to communicate to both very effectively while also being respectful. I learned that children know when you are disrespecting them. And many adults who I worked with never got attention from the younger community. So when I showed up taking photos of the Silver Sneaker program, they posed for me because they weren't expecting somebody to care about them because they had been conditioned to people not giving them half a glance. They just existed to most of the population. It was through learning how to communicate with these different target audiences that I was able to effectively become a part of the community and make better projects because of it. So looking to the future, all those skills I mentioned previously, I think and know will be very effective in the future for any future career I plan on going through. In addition, I have a better idea of what position and job I want in the future. To be honest, as a digital communications major, I didn't really know what I wanted to go for after Waynesburg. But through working with Lauri West Community Center and working on my practicum project for my other Professor Krause class, I learned I want to work in social media management and social media production. I want to create videos that are used for advertising and posting for a large audience to see. It's something I have a lot of passion for. And at the bottom there, you might see that I have a chance for redemption. Last month, when I was reaching out to Shannon over getting a signature required for this class, she reached back out to me and said that the project for the Celebrate the Center video was back on, and she was interested in signing me on as a full-time paid employee in production for social media. And while I believe this is a fantastic stepping stone and nowhere else I would rather work, I'm glad to see that what I did over the summer will be used in the future. Thank you. Are there any questions? Yes?
You mentioned the balance between like 5 to 12-year-olds and people over the age of 50. Can you give us one or two examples of how you balance that?
So a lot of the kids in the summer camp did not like me when I first showed up, simply because I was a new face. I was standing in the back corner with a camera most of the time, and they didn't really like me. In comparison, when I showed up for my first session to take photos for the Silver Sneaker program, which is how I interacted with a lot of the older clientele, they immediately jumped onto taking photos with me. In fact, they asked me what poses would be best for the photos. It was a wild change in how I needed to adapt my strategy for a younger audience, while for an older audience, they simply wanted that attention that they had never been given by the community center before. Yes?
So you obviously know what you'd like to do, and you were able to get that opportunity to really build a foundation of what you want to do. What drove you to do something so out of your comfort zone in the aspect of the cleanliness and the wanting to make sure everything's in its place, and then working with kids who traditionally are not in that world, don't really fit that category?
I have never been good with children, and I figured that there was no better way to learn than to throw myself into it. Because you can't run away from things you don't like your whole life. If I'm going to be working with social media or any job at all, there's a high chance you'll be working with people that you're not used to working with. And an important thing for me was to get out of my comfort zone with this internship. And almost working with young children or an older clientele was very out of my comfort zone for me. But I believe that through working with Lauri West Community Center, I've gotten a lot better at working with people who come from different backgrounds or different generations than me. Yes?
How did you determine how you were going to pick like the perfect moment for these videos? Because children are so unpredictable, and they could be doing the most fun thing, and like it could look like it's not. So how did you like go about trying to find the moments to make it look the best while working with people that don't really fit that, I guess?
What I learned was try again. Children were not very privy to the camera, but what I learned was that by being there and taking as many photos and videos as I could, I would eventually have something that worked. One of my favorite video recordings I got while working here was a video of a young boy who was painting something, and then he turned to me with his paint and tried to hand me it to help paint with him. Now the video that was put into promotional material cuts off, but a few seconds from where it cuts off, he drops the paint, it falls on the ground, and splashes all over me. It's a moment like that where, by knowing that the audience is unpredictable, you're still able to see the beauty in it. Yes, a lot of times you couldn't tell if they were having fun or not, but what mattered was showing that the kids were interacting with each other and interacting with their environment. That was a big thing they wanted me to focus on, was that the kids were learning something and they were applying what they were learning. And I mainly focused on that. And by doing that, the kids having fun just followed.